I think we all have a lot of questions, too, about what happens next, not only in the political arena, but also what happens to Donald Trump. So I do want to bring back in Caroline Polisi. She, Caroline, the judge, as we've noted, has wide discretion over the sentence here. But do you think that Judge Merchan will sentence the former president to prison?
I don't. I personally do not think that, look, for better or for worse, Trump has been treated like any other criminal defendant. The fact is, based on a reading of a lot of these types of cases, not many are actually sent to serve time. And so if you're treating the former president just like any other regular Manhattanite that would have been sentenced here, as a first-time nonviolent offender, it would be very unlikely that he would go to prison. I think that if he does get sentenced, that would just sort of add fuel to his fire in terms of acting as though he's being singled out here. So not to mention the fact that there would be issues with the Secret Service. He would not be with the general population. It would be a big burden on the prison system to have him there. So personally, I think that the objectives of sentencing can be accomplished through other forms of punishment, fines, probation, that type of thing. So I don't see it happening personally.
What do you think is the more likely sentence?
I think he will get a probationary sentence. I think that there will be fines to be, tied to the offense conduct in this case. Look, the fact is it's not going to have any effect on his run for presidency from a legal perspective. Obviously, there's nothing in the Constitution that, says that he cannot run. On the voting part, he's registered to vote in Florida, and they do sort of concede to the state in which the potential felony has been adjudicated. And in New York State, any felon can vote as long as they're not currently incarcerated serving time. So if he doesn't serve any time, he will definitely be able to vote.
In researching and preparing for today, I did read, though, that if Donald Trump is sentenced to probation, he would be required to clear any out-of-state travel, such as campaign rallies or fundraisers, with a probation officer.
Well, that is absolutely true.
Yeah. I guess that can be done through staff and lawyers, but nevertheless, something we haven't seen before.
Absolutely. And that happens every day. I do that for my clients a lot, all the time. It is not fun dealing with probation, getting every little, detail of your life, really having them sign off on any time you want to travel. I do not see the former president, conceding lightly to this type of probationary sentence, but nonetheless, he will have to.
And then finally, Caroline, on grounds for appeal, what do you think Trump's attorneys could latch onto?
There are a lot of grounds for appeal here, starting with just the law, the statute under which the DA brought this case. There's been a lot said about this issue of unanimity among jurors. While the elements of the offense here were reached unanimously, there is this added little hook here that the object offense here, the New York State election law conspiracy, had to be done through quote unquote unlawful means. The jurors did not have to find unanimously with respect to what those unlawful means were. Remember, there were 3 presented to them: tax fraud, FICA violations, and other falsification of business records. I think there are potential due process issues in that statute. And then with respect to the jury instructions, they weren't allowed to bring them back with them. There will be questions on just how they arrived at their verdict. There is a lot here. I'm not convinced that any will take the day, but I do think that they are not frivolous arguments.